A day after the Federal Reserve proposed dramatically limiting debit card fees that credit card companies and banks charge retailers, you've got two senators who want to go even further. Bloomberg's chief Washington correspondent Peter Cook is on the Hill with one of those senators. Peter?
Scarlett, thanks very much. I'm joined by the Assistant Majority Leader here in the Senate, the number 2 Democrat in the Senate, Dick Durbin of Illinois. Thank you for the time. Appreciate it. We just mentioned the Fed moving on interchange fees for debit cards. That was at your urging, the Dodd-Frank legislation today. You and Senator Menendez going after prepaid debit card fees. Tell me why, what you're after here.
These prepaid debit cards serve a valuable purpose. People without a banking account have a way to load cash into a debit card and use that for transactions or to withdraw cash. But it turns out that even the Kardashian sisters are on to the fleecing that's taking place here. The different charges that they have, initiation fees and fees for every move you make on these cards, really means that consumers are at a disadvantage. What Bob Menendez and I want to see is more disclosure. We want to make sure the money involved in these cards is protected by FDIC, and we want the Consumer Financial Protection Agency to keep an eye on these folks.
And the Kardashians, for those who don't know, these are Hollywood celebrities who have their own debit card, or at least had their faces on a debit card, and they've now since dropped that.
Well, it turns out that there was some embarrassment involved when they learned what the fees were, and they decided to drop their card. And I've said, half jokingly, if the Kardashian sisters are embarrassed, we ought to take a look at this.
All right, now you've gone after prepaid debit cards now. You've gone after these interchange fees. The Fed moving yesterday to limit what banks, credit card companies can charge on those interchange fees. Are you satisfied with the Fed action here, and why go after this industry? There are some out there saying, listen, we're out here to make a buck, and this is going to simply put some of these costs on the consumers.
I can tell you that there were 3 things that came out yesterday that are important. First, the Federal Reserve said the average interchange fee on debit cards is about 44 cents. The actual cost of processing between 7 and 12 cents. It's a dramatic overcharge that hits retailers and merchants and charities and governments and consumers. Secondly, if we bring these interchange fees down to a more reasonable level, we're going to save retailers and consumers up to $10 billion a year. And finally, while the credit card giants and banks are screaming bloody murder over these changes, they've already agreed to make these changes in Europe. So what we're asking them to do is to give the American people the same break they've given the Europeans.
So you don't have any fear at all that these costs are simply going to be passed on from retailers to consumers, a pass-through here?
No, I think the opposite will occur. When the retailers are paying less in these non-negotiable interchange fees, they're going to have a better profit margin to make their own businesses thrive and hire more people. And in a competitive atmosphere, the restaurant around the corner can now charge lower prices to compete with that other restaurant.
All right, let me just ask you finally, you're wrapping up your work here, at least that's the suggestion that you, the Senate and the House, may finish up its work in the next few days. The President's going to sign later today this tax deal. You had some problems with it from the start. At the end of the day, can you justify this to Democrats? There are a lot of angry Democrats out there.
Well, of course they're angry because there's some core principles that were violated as far as Democrats are concerned. The idea of giving tax breaks to wealthy people when we have this huge deficit and have to borrow the money from China to pay for it, it still, I think, is indefensible. But the nature of a compromise is to give up some things so that the other side will do the same. And that's what happened. The President has a big victory here. It's big because it means there won't be a tax increase at the first of the year, which could have hurt our economy. Unemployment benefits are going to go out to help millions of people across this country. And we're giving businesses some breaks to hope that they will be able to stabilize and build their own employee workforce in the process.
All right, Senator Dick Durbin, I know you've got to run. Still things to do here. The START Treaty, a number of other things here in the Senate still up for consideration, but we'll send it back to you now in New York.